We have a busy and transformative week full of planetary transits. In this week's astrology, the new moon in Sagittarius occurs, giving us the urge to begin a fresh adventure. Mercury begins its retrograde motion, which will aid us in reevaluating Capricorn and Sagittarius themes in our lives. And the sun will make the most transits over these next 7 days, allowing us to work on ego issues. Considering that this week has a harsher tone to it, the vibes on the graph are pretty interesting. To kick off the beginning of the week, we have a smidge of romantic and social vibes. So it may be a time of low-key flirtation, also the urge to just lightly socialize with others. Then throughout the first half of the week, ambitious vibes will be present, along with a smidge of solitude intersecting family and friends. Due to the week having a harsher tone to it in terms of the transits, we may feel motivated to get things done and take care of business, considering Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 12th. It could be a time to begin working on issues that have occurred since Mercury went into pre-shadow. Family and friends will continue throughout the rest of the week and connect with emotional sensitivity, mental, solitude, and psychic energy. Due to this, we might feel more sensitive to energies more than typical, and that being just vibes that other people may be giving off. And for that reason, we may feel like we need to ground our energy because we might be feeling slightly off-kiltered from some of this energy. Also, with the family and friends hovering over these tones, it might be a time to work on familial issues, even if we're wanting some space to ourselves. So yeah, we have yet another colorful week. Let's look at these next bunch of days and see what we can expect. As a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. There's a link in the description box below. Monday kicks off with a harmonious alignment from Mercury and Venus that can help us in terms of being more charismatic. And of course, this is a pre-shadow retrograde alignment, so we'll see this once more on January 19th of 2024. But for an alignment that's associated with the Mercury retrograde, this one is really harmonious. The vibes on the graph were showing a little bit of this in the air, and I would say that it was minimal due to some of the other energies that we have going on through the week, but for the most part, this brings in a really upbeat tone, at least for that Monday. Communication-wise, this makes it easier to interact with other people, and more so because a vibe like this encourages soft communication, leading to very enjoyable conversations. Also, this brings in a flirty tone to it, so it could be a day of amorous exchanges going on. An energy like this could really enhance the charming side in people, so it could be a day of being buttered up, but in a healthy way. And because this is a Mercury retrograde alignment, this theme may be really helpful in patching things up romantically with someone, or the classical Mercury retrograde signature of someone coming back from the past to patch things up. And because this is a harmonious alignment, this is generally favorable in those types of situations, so it may be something that was healthy. If it was obviously an unconstructive thing, then this transit wouldn't aid in those types of situations. Continuing with Mercury stuff, Mercury is going retrograde on the 12th. On November 25th, this planet went into pre-shadow in Sagittarius and is currently hovering around the early parts of Capricorn. For this reason, we're getting a 2-sign Mercury retrograde, and with 2 signs that are very different from the other, which might make this retrograde a little more confusing than others. Sagittarius is about expansion, while Capricorn is about constriction, leading to moments where we might feel like things are blown out of proportion or just overly minimized in a lot of ways. Since the shadow started in Sagittarius at the end of Sagittarius, we'll get to that portion of the retrograde a little bit later in the month, but this section that we're having around the 12th deals with a lot of Capricorn themes. So this could be situations like maturity, rigidity, boundaries, responsibility, committing, our reputation, career, and anything to do with just gaining stability in your life. So think about what was going on with you since December 1st. Was this a time where you were looking to climb the ladder in your career? Or overall were seeking a job that could lead to more security in your life? Or has this been a time where you worked on a limited mindset that stops you in your tracks, which could have to do with your career, it could have to do with your personal life, it could have to do with minimizing situations that are really serious, minimizing your own thoughts, minimizing others, and overall just having a real rigid mindset. Has this been a period where you worked on being overly competitive with others? Or working on a lack of a competitive mindset healthily? Was this a period where you've developed a better sense of commitment to yourself and other people? In other words, taking more responsibility in your life when it comes down to your own duties, but also your responsibility to other people. And learning the importance of being more accountable in your life. Has this been a time where you're doubling down on what's worth your time and what isn't? Capricorn energy is about time, and so in this sign, we learn time time management. So this might have been a time to cut out unnecessary filler that's blocking you from doing the things that you need to efficiently. And sometimes this could look like setting better boundaries with yourself. Sometimes this could look like setting better perimeters with other people. That way we get away from things that interrupt our productivity. By the time we get to December 23rd in this retrograde cycle, Mercury is going to shift back into Sagittarius. So this will bring up themes from November 25th all the way up until about December 1st. The Sagittarius portion of this may feel a little more difficult, and the reason for this is Mercury happens to be in a condition called detriment while it's in Sagittarius, and the reason for this is Gemini is the opposite of Sagittarius, and Mercury governs that sign. So this portion of the retrograde may feel more snaggier and glitchier than normal, and this is where communication could get a bit dicey. With Sagittarius being the opposite of Capricorn, in the Sagittarius portion, this could be situations like negligence, failing to read the fine print, which Mercury retrogrades in general. Failing to read the fine print can be a problem. So if we have anything like documents or we're signing stuff, this could be that time where it's more dicier than typical. But in this energy, we could have been neglecting obligations or seeing how we might have been neglecting those obligations, intellectual arrogance, expressing strong opinions, a lack of structure, and speaking way too firmly. But since November 25th till about the 1st of December, how have you been dealing with Saggy themes? Has this been a period where you've worked on your belief systems? Are you learning the importance of taking care of your responsibilities instead of falling into avoidance? Was this a time where you're realizing that overdoing it is a hindrance to you? In other words, it could be overbooking yourself, it could be too much excess, it could be indulgences, and it can even be situations where we're blowing things out of proportion, especially our reactions to things, and thinking is overly inflated. On the other side of this energy, it can show where we need to take more risk in our life. So this could involve finally shooting your shot on a goal that you have. That way you're amplifying what you have in life and ensuring that you have more possibilities and options overall. Since Sagittarius is a travel sign, was this a period where you were considering relocation or travel in some sort of way? And if physical travel wasn't in the cards for you, it might have been a time to broaden your horizons with travels of the mind. With Sagittarius dealing with higher education, this might have been a time where you were considering a new academic program or returning back to school, or overall taking up some sort of form of higher learning. So yeah, this retrograde definitely has two very different themes going on between Mercury and Capricorn and Mercury and Sagittarius. And because we have this in two different signs, two modalities are going to feel this more than others: the cardinal modality and the mutable modality. For the cardinal signs, that would be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn between 0 to 8 degrees of these zodiac placements. For the mutable modality, it'll be Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces between 23 to 29 degrees of these placements. Mercury will go direct on New Year's Day, so that's January 1st of 2024, and it will leave its post shadow on January 20th of 2024. On that same day, we have two complex alignments going on with the Sun. The Sun's going to make a quincunx to Uranus and also a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. With the quincunx situation, because it's a quincunx, we're dealing with a lack of insight and we're dealing with a lack of self-awareness. Since this is connected to Uranus, this may bring to our attention where we behave strangely. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being offbeat, but of course, there's always a healthy end and then there's a lower end, and this is more of the lower end. So it may point out behavior that's quirkier enough to create awkward situations. This could also show where we do things for shock value just to get a reaction from others. Also, this can show where unpredictable behavior is causing a lot of instability within our lives. This can also show where we're contrarian just to prove that we're different from other people, and that gives us an ego boost as a result. So essentially, we're getting an ego boost as a payoff, which of course is not very healthy. On top of that, the stuff with Jupiter can really inflate these situations. So it could be a day where we're dealing with grandiosity when it comes down to other people's egos, making it a day where we're dealing with unjustified levels of confidence in the air, which of course can get really irritating and result in bickering. By the time we get to the 13th, Venus is going to make a sesquiquadrate with Neptune. Under this influence, we could see where we're dealing with relationship issues that elude us. In other words, situations where we might have been in denial about a relationship, situations where we might feel foggy about someone's intentions, and sometimes our own feelings in the relationship that we're dealing with. Sometimes this can show up as a lack of boundaries in relationships, leading to situations where we might feel taken advantage of. But overall, this might show where we're self-sabotaging in these romantic unions, and the importance of getting honest with ourselves about situations that are unhealthy for us. On top of that, on that same day, the 13th, Mars is going to make a semi-square with Pluto, and this may result in flared up tempers. So energy like this can further drive some of these uncomfortable topics that we're dealing with the Venus-Neptune situation further down an unconstructive path, because an energy like this is very reactionatory. So if we're feeling as though we're being taken advantage of in some sort of way, we might find ourselves reacting. And when you have Mars and Pluto, those reactions are definitely more like blow-ups than anything else. So this could bring a bickering tone to the air as a result. An energy like this can put us in positions where we just really need to get fed up with situations that require us to take action in order to transform these circumstances. Energy like this can be very provoking, and unfortunately, sometimes that does happen, so we can clear up situations that require our immediate attention. So hopefully you guys are being called to action in a healthy way, because yes, an energy like this has its unconstructive side, of course, with Mars and Pluto in a hard alignment. At least by the time we get to Friday, Mars is making a harmonious alignment with Chiron. This, of course, is the more constructive form of a Mars transit that can help us become more self-motivated when it comes down to the things in our life that need healing. A vibe like this can get us on the right path in terms of our healing journey. So we'll feel encouraged to finally take action on those things that we know that we need to mend in our lives. Also, this energy brings in an enthusiastic tone, and so we could feel like we're ready to get out of a rut if we've been stagnant for a long time. This helps in working on our tempers healthily and may also give us the push needed to assert ourselves healthily. And hopefully these Mars vibes are carrying us through the whole entire weekend. I mean, considering their slow-moving celestial bodies, we could be feeling these energies over Saturday and Sunday, even into next Monday. And I say that we need those energies because by the time we get to the 17th, the Sun's going to square Neptune and Venus is going to make a quincunx with Chiron. This is where we were seeing all of that funky energy on the graph as we started getting towards the weekend, which is why we might feel sensitive to energies and need some space to ourselves, especially with this Sun squared Neptune situation. It could be a day where we feel unsure. It could be a day where we feel extra fuzzy, especially anything to do with ourself, our persona, our self-expression. An energy like this could really be deflating to our egos in a lot of ways, causing us to feel more self-conscious than typical. With a transit like this, we might feel sensitive to energies, making it hard to identify feelings that might be our own versus someone else's. So it may impede our sense of self a little bit. Also, a vibe like this tends to bring in a draining tone to it. So, although we got that Mars-Chiron thing, which is action-oriented and hopefully pumps us up, an energy like this with Neptune can really bring in a sleepy tone to it. So we may be a day where we feel more lethargic than typical. And with the fuzziness in the air, this Venus quincunx Chiron situation isn't really the most constructive at the moment. It's not a constructive alignment to begin with. Sure, it could be helpful in pointing out where we lack self-awareness because it's a quincunx situation, but since we've got that Sun-Neptune situation going on, it may be a moment where we're not clear on where we might be going wrong in a situation. Because this deals with Venus issues, it may show us where we lack self-awareness in relationships and are doing things that are unhealthy that maybe we're not so conscious of. Sometimes this could be losing ourselves in a relationship. Other times it could be passive-aggressive behavior in relationships. We haven't been speaking up in order to keep the peace in a relationship, and it's causing us to build up resentment to the other person. It can also show where we have some commitment issues in relationships, impulsive behavior, or where we ignore red flags when it comes down to other people. I mean, especially with the Neptune alignment that's going on, that could really feel inflated in this energy. So yeah, what a week. It's definitely a bitey one for sure, but hopefully it's a week where we feel motivated to do constructive things that are going to enhance our lives overall. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.